Hey, my friend, this is a teaching from Transform You. This is one of our classes that we're doing, and this is an excerpt that's talking about the relationship between spirituality and mental health. I know you'll enjoy this clip from Transform You, and we'll get right into the teaching. Well, first of all, it's the Christmas season, it's in holiday season, and I want to talk to you about peace just for a few minutes because this is a whole process of growing individually and also in coupleship if you came here with a couple. And there's a lot of elements, a lot of the emotional work that we're doing, psychological work that we're doing is very important. But there's a spiritual element that's intimately connected into it. And so the word peace, which is celebrated this time of year, comes from the word shalom, right? And that word is not just the lack of fighting between two people.
Right.
It is an atmosphere. It is the invasion of like a cold front in the winter or a warm front here in New Orleans in the summer. And
Or
so,
in the winter.
or in the winter. So,
It will be 70 degrees on Christmas Day, just for everybody to be aware of.
yeah. And, depending on your atmosphere, it impacts your behavior. If a massive warm front moves through, you don't wear a fur coat and you don't stay inside, or maybe you do in the AC, but you just have different behaviors due to the atmosphere that you're in, right?
Mhm.
And so if it's kind of a hostile atmosphere, you're going to be a lot more cautious. And if my wife I know is mad at me, I tiptoe around a little bit more. And if things are going well, right? It's a different atmosphere. Well,
Or you bring out the vacuum.
I'll bring out the vacuum, right? Do
That'll
work
work.
of service.
That'll work, Mama Kelly.
And we don't really understand, I think, fully the impact of the spiritual atmosphere around us. Like it could change around us, but we may not perceive it, but it definitely affects our behavior. And so when we talk about peace, there's the celebration of the shepherds when it was announced Jesus's birth, right? He said, "Glory to God in the highest, and peace to the people on earth, the people of goodwill on earth." And so basically it was saying, okay, there's something going on in the dimension of heaven, but it's descending into earth and it's sending this atmosphere of peace. And when you tear apart the word peace, shalom, it has a lot of different connotations that we're not always aware of. It means to experience full healing. It means to experience complete protection. It means to experience complete deliverance from anything that's not good. And it also means an experience of complete prosperity. All my needs are taken care of plus some. Now, if I'm in an atmosphere where I'm healed, I'm free, I'm protected, I'm free from any bad thing, and all my needs are taken care of plus some, that's going to have an impact on how I act and how I feel. And so when we have this invasion, a spiritual invasion of peace, it'll impact relationships. Now, I've experimented this with couples and they might be getting a little hot and heated on the sofa while I'm counseling. And sometimes I'll just start praying underneath my breath, Lord, may your peace and your presence come upon them. And it always changes the interaction. And they don't know it. I don't normally disclose that. And yet there's an atmosphere. So my encouragement to you is that whatever level of spiritual connection you have, that is a gift that's available to you. And you can become intentional about that to under your breath is to pray.
Yeah, we all need that maybe this season.
Yes.
A few days coming up.
May peace be upon my spouse, upon my family, upon
Yeah.
this next business interaction, upon myself. May it rain in my home. And that atmosphere will descend. And so I'm that's all to say is this time of year, that's our prayer for you right now, is that we're asking that God's peace,
Yes, Lord.
his heavenly peace, will invade you and will invade your home
Yes, Lord.
and will invade your family and all your family interactions.
Yes.
And that during this time of year, you may have an encounter
Mm.
with peace that you may not even know why, but you're just experiencing the byproduct of that, which is a sense of tranquility.
Yes.
Because I'm experiencing healing and I'm experiencing protection and I'm experiencing deliverance from anything bad and all my needs are met.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we just wish that upon you as our starting this morning, our starting point or our jumping off point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's, I mean, I love what Jesus always says, you send peace before him, before you walk in, to any place you go, any home you go in. And it's like, in this time when people are vulnerable to their losses, it's like to have that peace go before you. Then there's this protection,
Yeah.
of a protection to allow us to be vulnerable
Yeah.
in a time of need.
I think that brings up another point, and I was thinking about that before, is that when we feel protected, it allows us to be totally ourselves.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
You take a 3-year-old kid that is with their mother and they feel very comfortable. They're running around playing spontaneously, being happy, jumping
Mm-hmm.
around and stuff. But you put that same child in a room with a stranger,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the only two in the room. The child's just quiet, not moving, right? And not themselves, is already in a protective mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there's a spiritual atmosphere that actually helps you feel totally
Right.
protected, regardless of what situation you're in,
Right.
then we get to see the best of Mama Kelly. We
Right.
get to see the best of
Right.
HollyKem. You get to see the best of me because I feel protected and it gives me absolute permission to what?
Right.
Be myself.
Right.
And so it is so good to foster a level of protection and safety in the relationship. But even deeper than that, we need to experience that spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we get that foundation, that spiritual foundation where we feel protected, it allows us to go into any situation
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, and it's ourselves that's actually the best part of us.
It is. Yeah, how people say me, myself, and I always say, me is my protector, myself is my wounded child, and I is me, myself, and I, and it's like, we all talk like that. I mean, there's even a show, me, myself, and I. It's like in that, we've always spoken threes. And there's one thing to have my protector protecting me in the world and any place I go, and then to have that pulled back, and then having my true self connected to God protect me, which is a whole nother gig. Because I mean, what Jesus is all about is what? Don't get offended, right? It's so easy to get offended with your family, because they remember things or whatever, or whatever. So it's like, and then we have this.
Hey, I just want to talk to you for a moment about Transform You, and we'll get right back to the teaching. Transform You is a powerful process that will actually transform your life. If you're interested in learning more about it or exploring the possibility of joining Transform You, book a call with us today. There's a link down in the description, and we will look at where you are right now, where you want to be, and just simply see if we can help you get there. If we can, we'll proceed. If not, we'll give you lots of great resources. So anyway, book a call right now, and we will explore whether Transform You is for you. Now let's get back to the teaching.
I was talking to a client the other day, and we were talking about, you know, our families are not Hallmark movies. We have this, Hallmark movie in our head that, we're going to walk in and the Christmas music's happening and the the hot cocoa's happening and everybody's happy. Nobody's had a rough year or day. And it's like, no, that's not quite going to happen at my family. And she was saying, like there's not going to be a Hallmark movie here. and, but, in that, it's like, how do I not be offended? You know, and it's like, if my expectations are low from the family, but my expectations with God is high,
Mm-hmm.
then I put him in the right place that no matter what, I'm going to never be left or forsaken, right?
Yeah.
He'll never leave me alone, right?
Yeah.
So if I walk in with him, I walk in with him and I walk out with him. I'm not alone, right?
Right.
And then if I walk in with his peace and who he is and the joy of the Lord, which gives me strength, right? And I walk in with that, then what happens? I have nothing to lose at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have only to give. So I'm not worried about what I'm taking. I'm only worried about what I'm giving.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Then the offense, can go outside. I don't need it. Like I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need CM. I don't need my protector to protect me from, the darts that may be coming or not coming, or maybe I assume they're coming, and it's like, that becomes a whole nother way of living in the world, and living anytime I say world, I always think about Jesus, that he died for the world. God so loved the world. And, you know, to not have it a scary place.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's like. People are constantly making it a scary place.
Yeah, I also think, it's an interesting thing as a counselor, as a coach, right? How do we approach the whole issue of spirituality, right? And connection with God? Because a number of my clients may not really have a map for who God is or experience. And they may have had experiences where people have come real strong about demanding they have a relationship with God and were kind of turned off by that. And so you get into a conversation about God and it brings up a lot of different emotions, right? It could bring up a sense of defensiveness, or I didn't come here for that, or, or you am I on your list to convert, or, all that stuff. But
me, myself, and I will all have an opinion about
have an opinion of all that. Right. But do you know there's something to the fact that I want you to feel protected. I want you to feel safe. I want you to have, as a counselor, I want you to have full permission to be authentically who you are.
Right.
And I don't want anything to be holding that back.
Right.
In fact, I want you to get to a place where there's so much internal safety that you have permission to disclose, or say being vulnerable, all aspects of yourself.
Right.
The things that have hurt you, the things that cause you to be angry, the things that you love, the things you're passionate about. And you can't just do it on your own, right? Because the way we're designed as human beings, there's too much mystery, there's too much suffering, there's the reality of death that we have to deal with. There's a lot of these existential questions that we have to settle, and they don't get settled if I just end with myself. And the people that really develop true mental health on all levels, the thing that they have in common is a spiritual connection. And so that's why it's so important. Now, I can share with you about what my spiritual connection is. Each one of us can do that. That can be a roadmap, and that would be a different conversation. But just in general, we say if you want true security and you want the ability to truly be yourself on all levels, dealing with all the questions that a human being has to deal with, that this issue of spiritual connection is important and needs to be addressed and needs to be found, right? And it needs to become part of what provides your security.
Right.
Because the word insecurity, we often say, I feel insecure about
Right.
this. I feel insecure in my marriage. I feel insecure about who I am.
Right.
Well, the question is not feeling insecure because you have low self-esteem.
Right.
The question becomes, what is your security that's creating insecurity?
Right.
It's if my security is in a person and that person leaves me, I'm going to be very insecure.
Right.
And it's going to cause lots of problems.
That's what happens to children when their parents die.
Yeah. If my security is based on the amount of money I'm making per year, and we go into a recession, I'm going to become insecure because my security is shaken.
Right.
If my security is in my position of power and I lose that position, then it becomes insecurity. So the question I always ask when someone tells me in a counseling session, a coaching session, says, I'm really insecure, I start trying to think through and I'll challenge them, well, what is your security? And I think that's the analogy, and we're talking spiritual today because we're in the spiritual holidays, right? That's the analogy that Jesus said, that he talks about what is your foundation? Foundation that's based on the Lord is like building a house on a rock.
Right.
Storms come, life comes, questions come, things happen, and that house stands secure. When the security or the foundation is sand, then the storms come, life comes, they throw things, and the house falls. It becomes devastating. So when I've noticed that in working with people, I always, because my training has been both theology and psychology, I'm always looking for the theological issue, right? I remember I did a chaplaincy in Houston and for one summer at Herman Hospital. And we would have these encounters with patients where I would go in as a chaplain and we would dialogue with the patient, just how you doing, this and that. Can I pray for you? Da, 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 da. And we'd have these dialogues. And then we'd have these groups afterwards where we would like debriefing groups. And I would have to write down the dialogue as best I can remember. And then I would process it in the group. But the question would be, as I'm processing it, what is the theological issue that the person's dealing with? Like, what's the question? What's the thing? And we would process that. And it would really try to kind of help us skills. But, that's what kind of kicks in sometimes when someone says, I'm feeling really insecure, or I'm really, really scared about this. Or so what's the theological issue? What's the spiritual issue that's causing the psychological anxiety or the psychological insecurity? And oftentimes, when you start to understand that and challenge the person about that through questioning, it's just kind of leading them to help them understand, well, what is it that my foundation is based upon? And so it's kind of like this time of year when we have these big religious holidays, that sometimes that's what we begin to reflect on, or I do anyway.
You woke up early this morning praying. Mama Kelly, I don't think you got up at 5 praying. I think you got up at 4 praying.
Yes, yes, it's so good. So good. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel. If you want more information about Transform You, click on this video now. And also, if you'd like to book a call to join Transform You, check the description below and book a call today. God bless.